Mercedes-Benz Vito Tourer has been relaunched for the Malaysian market, and this brings about quite a few key changes. Number one, it's got a brand new, more well-known distributor. It's got a petrol engine, which is much more suitable for the Malaysian market instead of a diesel. Plus, of course, is the latest facelift version now. The target is, of course, the Toyota Alphas and Velfire. So the aim is, instead of having a Toyota next to your E-Class or S-Class, now your MPV can also have the all-important Mercedes-Benz badge up front. So is this the ideal MPV for you? Let's find out. This is considered a full relaunch for the Vito Tourer because it's now brought in by a new distributor, which is now Hapseng Trucks Distribution. The previous version was brought in by Nusa Automotive, which was a company under Berjaya. Now it's under Hapseng, which is much more closely related to the Mercedes-Benz operations here in Malaysia. Now onto the all-important prices. This goes for 342,000 ringgit, which incidentally is around 30,000 ringgit less than a Toyota Velfire. That also makes it a full 100,000 ringgit less than the Mercedes-Benz V-Class, which by the way has been discontinued by Mercedes-Benz Malaysia. So if you're looking for a family MPV with a Mercedes-Benz logo, this is now your only choice. The most crucial change is what's under the hood. This is now powered by Mercedes' very familiar 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine together with a 9G Tronic powering the rear wheels. Previously, both the Vito and the V-Class were only available with the turbo diesel engine. Now, you may think for a car this big and this heavy, this by the way weighs over 3 tons, a diesel engine might be a better fit, but in all honesty, for this car's intended target market, this is a much better fit. It will now drive like a normal car instead of a commercial vehicle. If you're familiar with the Mercedes-Benz range, the engine's numbers will be very familiar to you as well. This 2-litre turbo makes 211 PS and 350 Newton meters of torque. So that is similar to a C250 or an E250. So that's obviously not going to make this car a really quick car by any means, but it should be more than enough for a family MPV. And it will do so in a very refined manner, much better than a turbo diesel would. Moving on to looks, this may be the facelifted version, but the only thing that's changed is this new grille over here, which has a few more slats compared to before. The rest of it looks pretty much the same as the Vito that we know from before. This also has a different face compared to the V-Class, but unless you park the car side by side, I think most of us won't know the difference. As you can clearly tell, this is a huge, massive car. The Vito Tourer is only on sale here in Malaysia in a single variant, which is the extra large size. At almost 5.4 meters long, this is now one of the longest, biggest cars on sale in Malaysia today. This is even longer and taller than a typical pickup truck on sale here. This also makes it marginally bigger than the medium-sized V-Class that was available here before. Round the back, it looks very much like a van, which obviously it clearly is. But given the sheer size of it, it still has quite a considerable road presence here on Malaysian roads. So obviously, this is not a pretty car by any means, but that's not why you'd buy a Vito Tourer. You'd buy it for its very practical and flexible interior. Let's go take a look inside. Inside, it has a rather odd mix of new and old Mercedes-Benz parts. The steering wheel over here is taken directly off a pre-facelift W205 C-Class, while the aircon controls look similar to something like in the W204 era. But the good news is, the head unit is all new. This may not quite be the latest MBUX system in the passenger cars range, but this is still a touchscreen system, and it has full support for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Down here, you've got controls for both the left and right powered rear doors. Now, as you can tell, this is an entirely different dashboard to the more car-like version in the V-Class. This is of course a Vito Tourer, not the V-Class, so it has a much more utilitarian, more commercial vehicle dashboard compared to the more luxurious V-Class MPV. That extends to the material quality as well. There's no soft touch plastics whatsoever, it's all hard wearing hard plastics. but it does look like it's going to last for a very long time given its heavy-duty commercial vehicle roots. What's new for the facelift are the jet turbine-style rotary aircon vents taken from the E-Class Coupe. Very nice. Around the back is where the Vito Tourer gets really interesting. It's sold in Malaysia with a single 10-seater configuration with a 2-3-2-3 seating layout. However, the seats are very flexible and you can move them in or out depending on your own requirements. It is expected for most owners to remove the entire rear bench to make it a much more spacious 7-seater MPV instead. You can even flip the seats to be rear-facing for a much more inviting cabin. Other details include 4 sets of isofix plus a 3-point seatbelt for each of the 10 seats. Changing the seating configurations will also directly affect the boot space available, which can range from pretty much nothing at all to absolutely enormous. As mentioned before, this is one of the longest cars available in Malaysia today. So especially in 7-seat configuration, the space available is mind-boggling. On the flip side, the Vito Tourer's van roots are very obvious in certain aspects. The bench seats, for instance, are very flat, probably not the best for long journeys, and the center windows do not open at all. Access to the rear rows, especially in a 10-seat configuration, is extremely narrow. The good thing is, it does now feel like a much more cohesive Mercedes-Benz product instead of the previous Berjaya version, which had a very nasty-looking aftermarket fridge and a top-mounted rear monitor. This looks much more stock and clean. Back on the outside, there are quite a few things that make it obvious that this is based on a commercial vehicle instead of a luxury MPV like the Mercedes-Benz V-Class. These are things like the unpainted door handles, which by the way do not even have keyless entry, the black side mirrors, and the lack of front fog lamps. And of course, the body-colored B-pillars over here, which is extremely visible if you buy a car in white. Even the tires are of a specific commercial type with a C designation. But at the other end of the scale, the safety systems available on this car is absolutely top-notch. You've got a full array of airbags and active safety assist as well, including AEB, autonomous emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, active lane keep assist. So everything you need from a long-distance cruiser is all fitted here as standard. So overall, there's lots of ups and downs with the Vito Tourer, but I think it's undeniable that you do get a lot of car for your money, both in terms of size and equipment as well. So do you think this is a worthy alternative to the likes of the Toyota Alphard and Vellfire? Let me know in the comments section below. We'll be taking this car out for a full review soon, so if you're interested, stay tuned for that one. Thank you for watching and stay safe everyone.